suffering among the German people. There was so much unemployment at the time. I don't know, 1920s, early 20s, maybe 3 million people were unemployed, and they were looking for someone to blame. And who was a convenient scapegoat to explain the suffering that they were experiencing? Who else? The Jews, yeah. And that was, I think, the beginning in my own life of a certain movement against me personally as a Jew, and against my science, against my theories. I recall in the early 20s, I went to the Berlin Philharmonic Hall, in Berlin, of course, a very great hall, and I went with Margot, my stepdaughter, and my wife Elsa, and some colleagues of mine. And when I go in, there was going to be a lecture that was going to prove that my theories were worthless, that I was a traitor to the German people. Well, I was interested to hear what this person had to say about me. And his name was Paul Weyland. He was actually a journalist, not a very good journalist, and he would submit articles to the right-wing press in Germany. And he was only one of many people that was rising up against me, as other German scientists and artists and intellectuals and scholars. When we walk into the hall, there are tables, and what is on the table but Nazi signs, Nazi insignia, and literature that was advocating the cause of the National Socialist German Workers' Party, the Nazis. Yeah, then we sit down in the audience and we listen to this fellow, Paul Weyland, try to prove that what I am saying as a physicist is not to be believed. He called it Jewish physics, that a true German scientists will have a completely different outlook. We cannot trust the Jews. They don't understand what it means to be attached to the land itself, the fatherland. Their physics are something that is all full of air and holes. It is all abstract. It has no basis in reality. But the true German Aryan scientists now, they are rooted to the land, to the earth, to the great traditions of the German people. And these are the people that we must listen to. Well, I did not take him very seriously until a little later there was another lecture by Philip Leonard, and he was an established physicist, and he tried to prove through his own science that my theory of relativity was flawed. And he didn't go so far as to say that it was an example of Jewish physics, but rather that it was just flawed reasoning. He challenged me to a debate. Outside of Berlin, Elsa said, "Albert, you should not go to this. It will only disturb you." And I said, "Elsa, well, I need to go. I need to prove that these people don't know what they're talking about." So I went. It was a 3-hour-long debate between myself and Philip Leonard, a physicist, who had obtained, I think he even had, at one time he received the Nobel Prize for something. And the place was filled with spectators. It was like they was watching a great entertainment. I was so upset that I had to leave the hall, and I nearly, well, my wife, poor Elsa, she almost had a nervous breakdown. She was upset by the fury with which I was being attacked by Philip Leonard and by his supporters in the hall. Well, then I went and I wrote a letter that was published. Again, my wife said, "You should do not put more fuel on the fire." But I did not listen to her. And I knew that this whole movement against Jewish physics, and in myself in particular, perhaps because of my fame or my notoriety, and that I enjoyed certain privileges, I have to think that there was many colleagues that was envious of my position. And they would go out of their way to disparage me, to disparage my work. I started to receive death threats. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am a scientist. Why do they want to kill me? Yeah, I get a bullet in the mail. I am giving a lecture in Berlin, and there was a young man, and he was wearing one of the brown shirts with the armband. He stood up while I am lecturing, and he said in English, well, I will not give you the German, he said, "I want to slit that Jew's throat." I don't know how to explain this insanity that was developing out of the culture of Germany. I knew that my life was not safe, so that Elsa and I, we took every opportunity to leave Berlin. We was invited to other countries, other continents, that I could talk about my theories of relativity. But I had another reason for going to South America, or I think I went to France, I went to England, went to Japan for 6 weeks. Yeah, and that one of my goals was to re-establish an image of Germany as a place of culture and civilization. It was not what you read about, the militarism or the anti-Semitism. It was also the culture of Schiller and Goethe and who else? Bach, Mozart. Yeah, this was the pinnacle of German civilization. I wanted to help people to regain their sense of the true German culture. That was, I thought I was like a bridge. You know, so much had been shattered because of the war, the First World War. Even the connections between artists and intellectuals, it was broken by the war. I wanted to restore the connections so there would be a free flow of information between what people who had been enemies before. Why should we not communicate, to share our ideas? It made no sense to me. But in the right-wing press in Germany, they are accusing me of being a traitor, accusing me of treason, the country that I love. And there was cartoons that would appear, and I recall one of them, this was in the late 1920s, maybe 1931. There was a cartoon with somebody, he was kicking a little person down the stairs. The little person was me. Another one, they had a cartoon caricature of me, and the caption was, "Not yet hung." When Hitler came to power in 1933, and a little before that, there was a bounty on my head. I don't know what the amount was, perhaps 10,000 German marks. I don't know what that is worth today, but dead or alive. They perceived me as a threat, perhaps because in the late 20s when I was giving a tour, I went to, let's see, when this was that, we took another trip, we went to San Diego, there's Elsa and I spent 2 months in California at the Institute of what do you call it, Technology, California Institute of Technology, Caltech. I wanted to meet in person Edmund Wilson. He was arguing that the universe is expanding. Well, I did not accept this. You see, I was somewhat of the old century that believes the universe is static. It does not contract. It does not expand. It has to be constant. But then I meet Edmund Wilson, and he takes me up to look through the telescope. I read his formulations and his calculations, and I realize I am wrong. Yeah, it is proven that the universe is indeed expanding at a certain rate. And so I spent 2 months there. That's where I met Charlie Chaplin. Yeah, I was a great admirer of Chaplin, and he was an admirer of me. And when he came to Germany once, when we were given a present for my 50th birthday, I got a little house outside of Berlin. It was like a place for me to have refuge and safety in Kaputh, a little place outside of Berlin, yeah. And Chaplin came to see me there in Kaputh, and he treated my home as if he was in the shrine of a god. I said, "Charlie, I am an ordinary person. I will tell you how ordinary I am. I don't have a telephone. We have a neighbor who is a potter. And my wife, well, when somebody wants to reach me or my wife, they have to call the pater. The pater will come running down the hill to tell us who is on the phone, who they want to talk to. Elsa gave him a little trumpet. And taught him. He taught them a couple of different songs. We hear one sequence of notes, we know the phone is ringing for Elsa. We hear another sequence of notes, we know that it is for me. That is how we live. For my 50th birthday, I get a boat. My friends give me a sailboat, and I love to sail. And there was a river near Capus, near the villa where we live, and I would go and spend the whole day on the river with the sailboat. Now, there was rumors that I was taking young women out on the boat with me. But that was true. I don't need to go into the details. My wife was very understanding. Not entirely. I'm sure that it upset me, but it upset her that I was having these dalliances on board my own little boats that I call Tumla, which is old German name for dolphin. And I don't know how to swim. Elsa was very concerned about me. What if the boat tips over? You're going to drown, Albert. Why don't you at least wear a life vest? I don't want to wear a life vest. The boat will not, well, one day it did tip over. And some of the neighbors on the river, they had to come and rescue me. One of my favorite occupations while I am sailing, if I see another boat, I will aim my boat directly at them. And then I am waiting for them to get very upset and start to wave their arms in the air. And at the last moment, I will divert the boat in a different direction. That is how I managed to tip it over. Yeah, so what am I telling you all this for? Yeah, so it is not very good for me and also to be in Berlin because of what is happening. At the same time, I am trying to spread my own theories in other cultures and to give a different opinion of the German people, but I am being called a traitor at home. One time, we want to go back to Germany after a long trip through this country. We go from San Diego, we go through the southwest, and then we go back to New York. And I am giving a lecture in New York City, and this was in 1930, by the way. And I know that the Germans are trying to re-establish their armaments, and it is in secret, but I know this is going on, and I am urging for people to prevent Germany from rearming itself. And I am completely against militarism in any sense of the word, and I am a convinced pacifist. And when I am giving the lecture in New York City, there is a very large audience. I said to them, if you are a pacifist in a country where there is a compulsory military service, you must refuse at all cost to have nothing to do with the military. If you are in a country where there is no military compulsory service, then you must also refuse and to say you will have nothing to do with arms or military service. And then I went further and I said, if only 2% of the young people in any given country refuse to go into the military, it will stop the wheels and the machinery of war. They cannot possibly arrest so many people